So, have you ever harvested a deer, had a really good looking or unique fur to it, and you thought, this would make a really nice chair throw or a wall hanging, or maybe even just having it sent off to turn into buckskin? Well, you don't just want to go cutting that deer hide off any old kind of way. Not if you want a good finished product. So stay with me. That's what I'm going to show you how to do today, the right cuts to make, how to get it off the carcass so that you can be assured that you're going to have a good finished product. Stay with me. Now, there's a lot of different ways to skin out a deer, and as long as you get the skin off, the job is done. However, if you're trying to save the hide of the deer, and I am going to save this deer hide, my plans are to make a wall hanging or a rug out of it, so I'm actually going to tan it with the hair on. But especially in the case of, let's say you were going to save the hide and turn it into buckskin or leather, or have it sent off and turned into leather so that you'd actually use it. You're going to want to follow these cuts the way I show you, because what it's going to do is it's going to end up, when the hide opens out, it's going to end up being more rectangular, so that you actually end up with more usable square inches of hide. If you've seen some hides skinned out, they're really irregular shaped. Well, if you actually follow the cuts the way I show you, it's going to open out to where it's more rectangular. It's not going to have all those dips and irregularities in it. So, we're going to come right here, and most animals that I've ever dealt with, they come with a pre-made pattern on where your cut is supposed to take place. And it's going to be, normally with most animals, it's going to be where the fur changes. Pretty obvious on this deer. We've got white shorter fur here for the underside. We've got the brown fur for the backside. And what we're going to do is we're just going to come right up just on the inside of that longer back fur, and we're going to make us a cut right up both sides of the leg. And you always want to cut from the inside out. That way you're not cutting through a lot of fur and getting it all over your meat. We're going to come up just under the inside. I'm going to come all the way up above that shank. Come back in, we're using just the point of our knife. We're going to pull the hide back, and we're just using the point of that knife to hit that membrane that you can see. There is absolutely zero reason to knife a deer hide off. Once I get to a certain point, you're going to see I'm just going to put down my knife, and I'm going to be able to pull most of this deer hide off by hand. At this point, we can go ahead and just cut right on around. And for this reason, this is why I don't like cutting through this tendon right here. If you notice, I do have a gambrel, but all I've done is just taken some strong short piece of rope, tied a knot in it. I looped it over and just did a little lark's head knot. That way it would grip down around his foot. trying not to mess around too much with that tarsal gland. These are his tarsal glands. This deer is in the rut, and he smells like he's in the rut. You don't want to be overly handling the tarsal glands and then transferring that over to the meat. Once we get past this little heel right here, it should go ahead and pull free. Right in the shot. We're just going to do the other side the same way. We're just going to grab the hide and roll our fist into it. We're just going to kind of roll our fist, and that hide should pull right off. Kind of working my hands back behind the back to free up as much as I can without using the knife. And fingers all the way through. Right now, push against the body and pull against the tail and start carefully working it up. Now, I did say I'm going to save this to make a rug. For that reason, I want the entirety of the tail. If you try to do this with just your knife, where you try to carefully pull it off. I don't care how careful you are, you're going to get about half that tail and it's just going to tear right off. So I'll show you a little trick how to do that. I'm going to come right in here and split the tail up. We're going to just skin out the fat base of this tail to kind of get the skin rolling. Always using the point of our knife, gently pulling on it, put a little bit of pressure. And we're going to start pulling it down, just gently touching where it's trying to grab a hold. All right, now that we've got the tail skin kind of rolling out on itself, all you need to do, get you a couple round sticks. It's better if you use green sticks, that way they have a little bit of flex to them. I like them about the size of my finger, maybe a little bigger. Need 2 little green sticks. You come right up here on just above where you have that skin rolling over on itself. You're going to grab both sides, you're going to squeeze both sides, and you're just going to push straight down. And there goes the tailbone. It pops right out. You have a perfectly good tail, totally intact. That'll be beautiful once it's tanned up on my wall to give me something to remember the hunt by. I'm going to carefully split the tail right down the middle. And you want to use a really sharp knife doing this. Like I said, this tail skin is really delicate and it will tear so easily. Alright, so the tail's split out. Alright, got the deer pulled up where we can work with a little bit better. Tell you what, before we get all that skin in the way, we're going to go ahead and make our cuts on the bottom legs. Once again, you're going to use the hide as a diagram where the different colored meats. You're going to come up under and you're going to follow that line. I've gotten every dog in the neighborhood excited. They all smell this deer. And for a while there, every one of them were going up. They know where the good meat's at. Really like a thin-bladed knife doing this because you can really just slip it right up between the skin and the meat. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and open this deer up. I always try to cut with the grain of the hair. The hair is growing this way. I try to cut this way, but because we're working with a larger animal and he is hung up, don't have much choice. I'm going to come all the way down, straight line, down the center of the neck. We're just going to come straight over and make a straight line over to that center cut. And this will allow that deer to unfold in more or less of a rectangular shape. Okay. Now, just back to pulling. If it starts to pull actually into your meat, you can go ahead and just cut it free. It's not a big deal. This deer has a ton of fat on him. He has been eating good. All right, got him started. We're just going to roll him down. Now, if it gets to the point where you can't really pull it anymore, I'm just going to use an old rag. I guess you just put your pant legs on it, but I'm going to use an old rag because it's going to help to grip against the slipperiness of the hide. I'm going to hold the other side of the hide and I'm just going to drop my weight down on it. And there are all kind of tricks to doing this all over the internet. There we go. You hear people using golf balls and all these other little tricks, compressed air. When it's really not that difficult. Just working it side to side, back and forth, getting it to pull as much as we can. We're going to take our time and do it right. It's not a race. It's part of the memory of a successful hunt. And taking your time and doing it right is far easier than sewing up holes or picking a lot of hairs out of your meat. I'm getting down where I really can't pull the hide, so we are going to have to go back to our knife a little bit. Normally, these deer, this hide pulls off quite a bit easier than this. But it's been cold, kind of cold today, or cool out, and he's been sitting for a while. So, being a little bit tougher than would be normal. And that rag helps a ton. It allows you to get a grip on that slippery hide. And I am trying to take my time and make sure I don't put any nicks or holes in this hide. Because as you can see, there's not a bullet hole in him. I actually shot him just below the head and the base of the neck. So I thought this would be a really good deer to go ahead and tan out and make into a nice wall hanging. We don't have any holes to sew up or mess around with, so I really don't want to accidentally put a hole in him now, this far into it. So I am being a little more careful and taking a little more time and care than if I wasn't trying to save this hide. All right. So, may be difficult to see with me just holding it up. But you see that hide came out more rectangular, more uniform and symmetrical. Well, it is important, if you're going to either tan your hide or if you're going to send it off to be tanned or whatever, and you're not going to work on it right away, don't salt the hide. I'm going to say that again. Do not salt the hide. There's absolutely no reason for it. And if you are the one that is having to turn around and flesh this hide later, you will kick yourself for doing so, because it will make your job an absolute nightmare. All you need to do is fold the hide over, flesh against flesh as much as possible. Don't want any hair turned in, the first side turned in against the flesh. Even in the freezer, the fat can kind of sort of go rancid just a little bit, and it can cause the hair to slip. So we're going to turn it flesh to flesh. And I'm just going to go ahead and roll it over and roll it up and stick it in the freezer until I actually have time to do something with it. We got it rolled up, and I'm just going to put it in a garbage bag and squeeze all that air out of it that I can. Because air is your enemy in the freezer. You get all the air squeezed out of it that we can, and I'll just go ahead and twist up the bag. Put it inside of another bag, because if it's a while before I get to this, I don't want the hide to be all freezer burned. We're going to squeeze that air out as much as possible, wrap it up really well, and then I'll drop it in the freezer for a later date when I have time to do something with it. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. I do plan on posting future videos showing the entire process of finishing out the deer hide to where you can put it in your home and have a trophy you can be proud of for years to come. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, that way you will be alerted of that upcoming footage. And until next time guys, y'all have a great day.